water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years passed and my brother and I discovered the new Avatar, an airbender named Aang. And although his airbending skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Aang can save the world. And although his airbending skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Aang can save the world.
Previously on Avatar.
Fire Nation killed my parents. I was only 8 years old.
Hello, my name is Judy.
We found out about a solar eclipse that will leave the Fire Nation defenseless.
It is the strict policy of Ba Sing Se that the war not be mentioned within the walls.
You don't understand! They're Fire Nation! You have to believe me!
There is no war within the walls. Here we are safe. Here we are free.
I understand you've been looking for your bison. It would be quite a shame if you were not able to complete your quest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Avatar Vlogs. This is episode 37, Lake Laogai, and this is not the final of the arc of Ba Sing Se, but this is kind of the final episode before we lead into the finale arc of this season. So Team Avatar has been spending time around Ba Sing Se, and Aang finally decides he's sick of waiting to see the Earth King, and he's going to try and find Appa on his own. So they make flyers, they drop them all over the city, but as they're doing so, Judy comes back. The original Judy, mind you, comes back and says, "You're not allowed to do this. This is expressly forbidden." Mostly, of course, because she's on orders from the Dai Li that this is going to disrupt the established order and peace. But by this point, Aang is officially sick of this. He's sick of waiting. He's sick of being held down by all these rules, not only as an individual, but how they are oppressive in many respects to the people at large. So he officially decides from this point on, he doesn't care who he upsets at this point. He is finding Appa, and he's going to go by any and every means in order to do it. And as kind of a sign that they're done playing nice with the Dai Li, Toph destroys the home they were in, which is a little bit of a dick move, but I don't blame her at the same time. So Team Avatar goes around the city of Ba Sing Se putting up flyers when Jet's back. Jet's back too. You remember the last time we saw him, he was arrested by the Dai Li and brainwashed? Well, now he's back. But with that bit of information, it's not entirely 100% on the up and up. And as you'd imagine, Katara is still a little sour towards him after what happened the last time they met. So Jet's back, and Team Avatar is initially a little distrustful, but Toph has a workaround for how they can trust him, which is through her earthbending ability, she can feel if people are lying to her, because there's a change in your breathing and your blood pressure, and you sweat a little if you start to lie. So she feels the ground and tells that Jet is telling the truth when he admits he has some information for where Appa is. Now, initially, they're taken to a storage barn where this old guy says that they moved a beast out like that a couple days ago to Whaletail Island, which it turns out is way on the other end of the world. It's just on the edge of the Earth Kingdom, which would take over a month for the crew to get there in order to find Appa. But after a while, I shouldn't say after a while, I'm getting the plot wrong, but when Jet's gang comes back and says, "How'd you get away from the Dai Li?" they quickly realize that Jet was brainwashed in order to feed them false information, so they would end up leaving Ba Sing Se. But eventually Katara is able to use water bending to jog Jet's memory, so he realizes he was taken to an underground headquarters known as Lake Laogai, and they draw out a reason that maybe that's where Appa is. But while that's going on, Zuko and Iroh are kind of living a nice, peaceful existence at their tea shop, so much so that some very wealthy people from the upper ring taste Iroh's tea, and it's so good they offer him to run his own tea shop in the upper ring. They're only really doing this so they can have access. I'm sorry I'm rambling on this, but I just realized I like the fact that these guys want to give Iroh a tea shop just so they have access to tea. They don't want him to be their own personal tea tenders or offer him a job in their house as like a house servant. They say, we want you to open a shop where you can make your own money. You can even have an apartment on the upstairs level of the tea shop. You can make money off this. We just want you near us so we can have your tea at all time. And Iroh, being the opportunistic man that he is, decides this is a great idea. He quits his job. But Zuko finds a flyer of Appa on it, and he realizes the Avatar's in Ba Sing Se. And already all the stuff that he's gone through most of season 2 is starting to unravel a bit, because even though he has found some new peace, he's not fully satisfied. So he is very much willing to almost throw all of it away for the sake of maybe trying to find the Avatar again, because against his better judgment, he is still bound by his sense of honor to try and impress his father and reclaim his rightful place on the throne. So Iroh says, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe this is a bad idea, but Zuko, being Zuko, doesn't really listen, and he's off on the search for Appa. Back again to Team Avatar, they come across Lake Laogai, which is basically a CIA brainwashing place, where it turns out they hypnotize a ton of Judees to say, welcome to Ba Sing Se, I am Jude, which is a little creepy. I also love the little detail that dark places in the Earth Kingdom, in Ba Sing Se at least, are lit by these green crystals. Like, they naturally glow green, but it turns out they're also flammable, as there's a sequence in episode 14 where they're in Longfeng's office, and he has a fireplace of all these crystals that are on fire to provide kind of a bit of light to his office. Longfeng and the Dai Li come across Jet, the gang, and Team Avatar, and they have a little fight before Jet is brainwashed briefly by Longfeng, and unfortunately he now has to fight Aang. Zuko comes across Appa and is about to take him out before Iroh comes in and gives one of his more legendary chewing out speeches about how Zuko's an impulsive idiot who almost got killed at the North Pole because he captured the Avatar but then had nowhere to go. And after a long speech about you need to decide who you are and what you want, it's not about any destiny that's been thrust upon you, it's about you, what you want, and how you're going to go forth with your life. And the episode ends on both a tragic and a triumphant note. Jet is tragically attacked by Longfeng and is left for dead. It's never explicitly stated if he did die in that moment, but he was hit pretty hard with a rock. I'm going to say he's probably going to die. And that's the last time we see Jet in this series. It's kind of sad, but, it feels appropriate for where it ended. And this episode ends with, guess what? Appa! Appa's back! Yeah, I know we had a whole episode last time with him, but he's back in the show, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt so happy for Team Avatar when he came back. Like, when he defeats the Dai Li and gets them back, and they're all hugging on him, and then you cut to Aang like, I missed you, buddy.
I missed you, buddy.
I missed you too. Like, God, this show gives you these beautiful moments. Like, the best moments in this show for me, or at least this season, are just when Team Avatar gets into a group and gives a group hug and just kind of happy cries it out. And that happens twice. One is when they're with Appa, and the other is when they're flying over Lake Laogai and they just kind of give one more hug, acknowledging they're back together again. The episode ends proper with Zuko finally throwing away his blue spirit mask and leading on to a new life. And the episode ends on a bit of a optimistically cautious note. And when I first saw this episode, I initially thought it was one of my favorites. It was one of the best ones because it does have so many bits of payoff. Now, it is a good episode, but it's not quite as good as I remember. It is, in many respects, it's mostly there just to give payoff, which is the fact that Appa is back and Jet has an appropriate exit from the show, and Zuko's now going on a bit of a different course, turning his life around. Other than that, though, it's not a tremendous episode. A lot of it does take place underground, so it's very dark and not always the best to look at. It goes dark enough, but it could have gone a little darker, in my opinion, with some of the brainwashing implications, but it mostly keeps things kind of simplified. I will admit, I do like the fact that the Dai Li, they wear these rock gloves all the time, and they usually either capture people or earthbend first with their gloves. Like, they'll usually use the gloves to arrest people or to grab them from something. It's kind of a cool little touch that you don't always notice initially, but I'm kind of glad it's there. Plus, the Dai Li do lead to some of the most dynamic earthbending fights in the show. Like, it is nice that we have some earthbending opponents to go up against. It's not just fire. But other than that, there's not really a ton to talk about. I guess the only thing is that this old guy they come across in the storage barn where they thought Appa was, he's a one-off character, but he kind of almost feels like a Simpsons character. Like, he's this guy with this strange design and voice that almost, again, it feels Simpsons-esque. And he's kind of rejected by everybody. Like, when they're talking about how they want to go get Appa at Whaletail Island, he's like, must be nice to have a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in years. And Katara's like, don't you have some sweeping to do? Like, that whole interaction felt like it was made for a Simpsons episode, so that's kind of funny. But with that said, I actually don't have much more to talk about this episode. It was just nice to get all these payoffs, and it's a good lead into the finale arc. But with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, onwards and upwards, my friends.
And now Avatar The Last Airbender Vlogs presents to you Sokka's Quote of the Day.
It looks just like him to me.
Thank you, I worked really... Why do you feel the need to do that?
You did the right thing, nephew. Leave it behind.